Welcome to Chasing Baseball's Immortals, where I explore the career of every 20th century Hall of Famer while collecting one of their original playing days cards. Today we're taking a closer look at the career of Ron Santo and his 1961 Topps rookie, an often overlooked third baseman whose career was the definition of balance in the field and at the plate. Let's get started. Ron Santo was born February 25, 1940 in Seattle, Washington, and grew up in the city's southeast neighborhoods where he attended Franklin High School. He was a standout multi-sport athlete, but baseball quickly became his path. Playing in the newly organized Babe Ruth League, Santo drew the attention of scouts for his powerful bat and advanced defensive instincts at third base. By the time he graduated in 1958, he was one of the most heavily scouted prep players in the Pacific Northwest, signing with the Chicago Cubs and moving rapidly through their farm system. Santo reached the majors at just 20 years old, debuting with the Cubs June 26, 1960. He made an immediate impact, finishing fourth in Rookie of the Year voting and establishing himself as a long-term anchor of Chicago's infield. Over the next decade, he became one of the most complete third basemen of the post-war era, a 9-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glove winner, whose combination of power, patience, and durability defined the position. From 1963 to 70, he averaged nearly 30 home runs and more than 100 RBIs per season, while also leading the National League in walks 4 times and on-base percentage twice. Defensively, Santos was elite. He led the league in total chances 8 times, in putouts and assists 7 times each, and in double plays 6 times, setting multiple National League records at third base that stood until the late 80s. His production is even more remarkable considering he played his entire career while managing type 1 diabetes, a condition he kept private until 1971. After retiring, Santo became the beloved Cubs broadcaster on WGN radio, known for his emotional, unfiltered reactions and deep connection to the fan base. He also became a leading national advocate for diabetes research, helping raise more than $65 million for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Santo passed away December 3, 2010 in Scottsdale, Arizona, after a battle with bladder cancer. 2 years later, he received the long overdue recognition with induction to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 2012. Now we'll examine Santos' career through the lens of historical and modern comparison. Santos stands at the center of third base excellence in the 60s. Across that decade, he averaged more than 30 home runs, drove in more than 100 runs a year, and posted an OPS plus of 125, a level of production that made him one of the most complete hitters in the National League. He led the league in walks 4 times, reached base at a .362 clip for his career, and paired that offensive consistency with 5 Gold Gloves, anchoring the Cubs' infield with the same reliability he brought to the middle of their lineup. A generation earlier, Ken Boyer offered the closest blueprint to that kind of player. Boyer's peak with the Cardinals mirrors Santos' in shape and impact, a third baseman who could hit for power, reach base, and control the position defensively. His 116 OPS plus, 5 Gold Gloves, and 282 home runs reflect the same balanced profile. Both players were franchise cornerstones, carrying their clubs through long stretches of contention, with a game defined by completeness. And then there's Scott Rowland, the modern successor in this line of third base greatness. Rowland's career sits almost directly on top of Santos's in overall value. Both finished roughly with 70 WAR, both posted an OPS plus in the 120s, and both combined 30 home run power with high on-base ability and elite defense. Rowland's 8 Gold Gloves echo Santos's defensive impact, and his 316 home runs and 364 on-base percentage reflect the same offensive shape Santos brought to Chicago. Like Santo, Rowland built his legacy on athleticism, durability, and the ability to influence the game on both sides of the ball. Across 3 areas, Boyer before him, Santos in his own decade, and Rowland in the modern game, you can trace a clear line of third basemen defined by the same traits: middle of the order production, disciplined at-bats, Gold Glove defense, and the ability to anchor a franchise. Their careers share the same shape, the same balance, and the same standard of excellence that continues to define the position. The 1961 Topps baseball set arrived during a period of expansion and transition in the sport, and Topps responded with one of its most ambitious checklists to date. Spread across 7 series and 587 cards, the set was distributed through penny and nickel wax packs, cello packs, and large rack packs, formats that gave kids anywhere from a single card to a full handful at a time. Early series cards were printed heavily, but the high number 7 series remains one of the toughest runs of the decade, creating the scarcity collectors still feel today. Topps shifted to a clean, minimalistic design for 1961. Full-color portraits dominate the card fronts, framed by a simple nameplate without logos or heavy graphics. It's a restrained look that lets the photography talk for itself. The card backs keep familiar Topps charm with full stats, biographical notes, and small cartoons. The set also induced several firsts: the debut of the league leader cards, and the first true Topps insert, collectible stamps, 208 in total, tucked into wax packs. The set also reflects the star power of the era: Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Sandy Koufax, and the iconic Roger Maris card from the year that he broke Babe Ruth's record. The set features key Hall of Fame rookies of Billy Williams, Juan Marichal, and of course Ron Santo. Portrait of Santo is a 1961 classic, clean, direct, and unembellished, capturing a 21-year-old Santo just as he's becoming the everyday third baseman who would define the position for the Cubs. Based on recent sales, PSA 7s typically sell for around $150 to $200. PSA 8 commonly land between $270 to $300. PSA 9s, a true high-end card, generally over $1,000, and raw copies usually fall between $15 and $40, depending on centering and quality. All right, now we'll look at the card. Here's my example of the 1961 Ron Santo. I picked this up 2 years ago on eBay. When I was looking for this example, I noticed that a lot of them are off center left to right. So I wanted something that was well centered. Oftentimes they'll have surface wear or snowing, so I wanted one that without any snowing and no major print defects. We still have a lot of print defects here in the name. The back, again, the back's well centered. It's actually really bright. This example is a PSA 5. I paid $75 for it at the time, which was the market value. For this video, I looked it up. The current market value is around 62. So this has actually gone down in value. Santo, as one of the more affordable and I would say less popular Hall of Famers, cards have remained pretty stagnant over the last couple of years, contrary to most of the vintage market. But nevertheless, still a nice card of a vintage Hall of Fame rookie from the 60s. And that completes my Ron Santo run. Now we'll check out some of Santo's other cards. Across the early 60s, his cardboard run includes some interesting regional, international, and specialty issues, each one marking a different stage of his rise with the Cubs. First up is his 1961 Bazooka. The 1961 Bazooka is one of Santo's toughest early cards. Printed on the backs of Bazooka gun boxes in 3-player panels, every example had to be cut out by hand, which makes clean edges and sharp corners extremely rare. Santo shares his panel with 2 other young players, a humble beginning for a future Hall of Famer. Because so few were cut well, and even fewer survived, the card is genuinely scarce. Lower grade hand-cut copies usually fall in the $40 to $60 range, while well-cut mid-grade examples would likely see $100. Next, we have the 1962 Topps Venezuela. The Venezuela issue is one of the most difficult issues of the decade. Printed on soft, dark paper stock and distributed only in South America, these cards were handled heavily and rarely stored well, and oftentimes glued in the back of books, even making low-grade examples uncommon. The design mirrors his regular 1962 card, but the muted colors and fragile stock give it a completely different feel. Low-grade examples typically sell for under $100. Mid-grade examples would likely reach a few $100s, and anything approaching a high grade is exceptionally rare and would likely approach or exceed $1,000. Finally, we have the 1964 Topps Stand-Up. By '64, Santo was one of baseball's premier third basemen, and the Topps Stand-Up set captured that rise with one of the most creative designs of the era. These die-cut cards were meant to be punched out and displayed, which means intact, unpunched examples are far scarcer than the print run suggests. Santo's Stand-Up, with its bold, two-toned background and crisp portrait, is one of the most visually striking cards of his career. Punched lower-grade copies usually fall in the $40 to $75 range. Unpunched mid-grade examples land around $100 to $200, while high-grade examples can often reach over $300. Santo's full Plan Days run offers a balance of vintage variety from his era. His mainstream Topps cards remain widely available and affordable, while pockets of true scarcity exist, like his regional and specialty issues. give advanced collectors plenty to chase. Taken together, Santo's card selection blends rarity and affordability, enough to satisfy both new collectors and those building a more ambitious vintage run. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. On deck, we'll take a closer look at Frank Thomas, the big hurt before the nickname, a generational power hitter on the rise and the centerpiece of Chicago's next era. We'll also break down his 1990 Leaf rookie, one of the defining premium cards of the early 90s. See you then.